Have you ever felt like you were on the cusp of having a breakthrough? If only you could learn one thing. Yeah, like you were missing something, and everywhere that you turned, you just couldn't get the answer. And so you kept trying. You kept trying to get a result, and yet nothing was working for you. Well, when it comes to manifestation, I see a lot of people out here, especially in the community, trying to manifest, and yet nothing seems to be showing up in their life, whether it's a person, an event, or something that they're trying to manifest, like an object, a house, a car. Well, I think I know what it is you're missing. And I'll prove it to you through your results. Basically, you need to look at manifestation in a certain type of way. I like to use the analogy of a tuning fork. You ever seen an experiment where they take a tuning fork, let's say it's resonating at 433 hertz, right? They take this tuning fork, they haven't hit it yet, but then they take another tuning fork resonating at the same frequency as the one on the left. They give it a ring, and then the one that it didn't touch starts to vibrate, right? This is because they're both able to resonate at the same resonance. And so when one starts putting out a signal, the other one reacts. Well, if you look at your body as a tuning fork, as you start to resonate a frequency, and there's a way to do that I'll talk about in a second, as you start to resonate a certain frequency, the things that you want, the people you would like to meet, the situations you'd like to experience will start to resonate too, and they'll start to show up in your life because you're on the same frequency. Now, so many people are, and this is where they're going wrong. So many people are resonating at numerous frequencies that cancel each other out. For example, if you can imagine a tuning fork with different frequencies, maybe there's 433 hertz here, but then there's, let's say 381 hertz here, and then 111 hertz up here. And you take one tuning fork here, it's at 433, you hit it, of course, what part's going to resonate? Well, maybe a little bit here. But then because there's so many conflicting frequencies, because of this thing that people are doing, what ends up happening is these frequencies will cancel that one out. And so it doesn't resonate strong enough to attract that thing that it wants. Now, what this fork is doing, this person, is that they are thinking too many thoughts at once. And when you think too many thoughts at once, maybe you want a car, you want to move to Hawaii, you want to graduate, you want to learn something important to you, you're housing all these frequencies at once. And perhaps you have a bucket load of doubt too, conflicting, thoughts about your process. What's going to end up happening is now you, that tuning fork, through your thoughts, are going to resonate different frequencies that will cancel each other out in your body. And so now your body, the tuning fork, cannot put out a singular frequency in order to attract just one of those outcomes. And now you're probably thinking, well, does this mean that I have to stop thinking and only have one thought in mind? And now you're moving into the philosophy of manifestation that's often talked about, which is the waiting. Yeah. Kind of like tending a garden, you constantly revisit that thought of the thing that you want, and eventually it will come to you. As the thought gets stronger, the thought form in your mind becomes denser and denser and denser, starts swimming around your field, making you resonate just like that tuning fork at a strong singular frequency. But this is very difficult, not only because people have a bucket load of doubt, but because of the nature of people. And this is how you want to solve this problem. You see, we as a culture automatically think that we're supposed to think all of the time. But as we've already discussed, having a lot of thoughts at one time becomes a problem for our tuning fork, especially when it comes to what you want. So how are you going to solve this? Well, first off, you need to flip the perception. You have to realize that thinking is more like a disease than something that we're supposed to always be doing. When you look at Zen philosophy, especially Zazen, they always refer to the self, the mind, not the brain, that sense of self, that sense of awareness right, on the inside, they always refer to that as clear. Being so clear, you can't even see it. If you were to take water, pure water, put it into a jug, a nice pristine glass jug, and you stare at that jug, you wouldn't see the water because the water is that clear. That's you. And when you're like that, your aura is clear. You have no colors in your aura. You might see a little bit of gray, but basically it's transparent, it's translucent, right? Now, when you start thinking, your aura reflects your thoughts, whether it's an emotional feeling / thought, whether it's a mental thought. Maybe you're looking at pictures, or you're sounding things out in your head. Last night's argument. Different vibrations that you're bringing about in your body come out into your field and characteristically show up in different ways, different densities, different hues of color, right? This is your tuning fork. Those are the sounds that are competing with each other. If you look at Zazen, if you do the Zazen practice, I'll talk about it in a moment. I'll talk about how to do it. I do it all the time. It's really, really powerful. It's so simple, and yet it has this compounding effect that just generates a richness, a certain level of depth within you, and you can go really far in your experience. But if you can flip the switch and start looking at yourself as something that has to exist clear. Let me pedal back a little bit. I don't want to lose anyone. We start off perfect. We start off clear. We're not thinking a whole lot until someone gives us something to think about. Are we good enough, in our society? Are we smart enough? Are we sexy enough? Are we this? Are we that? Maybe I should be. Yeah? You get into fights with your friends. You get into fights with your family. And then you keep thinking about it. Yet no one tells you how to detach and how to go back to normal. After a while, you keep thinking. And of course, the more you think, the more stressed out you get. Or the more of any other type of reaction you get predicated upon the quality of your thoughts. You now think it's normal because no one's told you otherwise. After a certain period of time, you become, addicted to your thoughts. You're daydreaming, you're not really here. You're always someplace else, and as of a result, your body is always someplace else. Those are the conflicting frequencies. You keep falling into cycles, patterns in your life, attracting the same types of individuals, experiencing the same types of things, and you keep reacting in the same type of way over and over and over again because you're constantly regurgitating these types of feelings. Yeah. You're behaving out of the scope of the content in your body. If you've been stressed out most of your life, everything that you say will come from a place of stress. Not only that, but everything will be colored in stress. As you're seeing the world through your filter, your aura, the impression that's been impressioned on your field through constant thinking and thinking about your past, thinking about stressful situations over and over and over again. Eventually, it becomes easy for you to feel this way. This vibration on the tuning fork has become somewhat stuck. So you need to learn how to go back to being clear, which means changing the cycle of behaviors of addictive thinking. Thinking too much can cause stress on the body. If you're stressed all the time, you're burning through cortisol. Cortisol is quite damaging to the cells themselves, and that's just one type of hormonal profile that can hurt your body. Can you imagine the amount of hormones, the chemical cocktail you're existing in when you're constantly thinking so many thoughts, addictively, neurotic thinking? You go to sleep, you can't stop thinking. You dream about your problems. Can you imagine dreaming and the house that you're in is completely clear? There's a silence in the room when you're completely calm. It's reflecting your internal state. Sometimes you can experience what's known as a nada in ayahuasca circles, where you go to sleep and you don't dream anything. You're that clear. You're a tuning fork that hasn't been rung yet. Yeah. When I started doing this, I noticed that my predominant thoughts would keep showing up faster and faster and faster in my life because I was clearing up the opposing frequencies from the stragglers, the thoughts that I was just holding on to in my mind that was affecting my body. I became healthier. I gained way more energy. And again, the reason why I'm making this video, I started manifesting more. It was the missing link. It was what I needed to do. Now, how do you clear up these frequencies? Well, the practice of Zen, Zazen, is quite simple. All you've got to do is lay down in your bed, close your eyes, and when you have a thought, you ask yourself the question, who is it that's having this thought? And rightly so, what should happen is you should take your attention off of that thought and onto yourself and become self-aware. So we're triggering a series of actualizations which will eventually have you realize that you're nothing and everything at the same time, along with so many other esoteric truths that will make you feel, well, everything and nothing. It's very bizarre, but you'll understand as you keep doing this practice. Again, there's a depth to this over time. Don't drop it just because it feels like it's too simple or you're not getting very far. Trust me. You can use every part of this to keep going, even if you feel like you're getting stuck. I'll talk about that in a sec. So you're lying there. You ask yourself this question. Look at it like a flashlight. The flashlight, whatever it shines itself on, it becomes. If you're looking at a thought of yourself, maybe you're watching yourself in a situation in your mind, that light moves through that image and you become it. You become angry because you're looking at an angry memory. You become happy because you're looking at a happy memory, right? When you say, who is it as the flashlight that's looking at this thought, the flashlight turns on itself. Now it sees itself. More precisely, it sees its tail. In Zen, this is the monkey looking at its tail. And it will keep doing this, spinning in circles. Well, is this me? Well, this is a thought, just like that was a thought. So this can't be me. So who's looking at this tail? Then you look at yourself again, and you end up going in circles, going in circles. Another classic way of experiencing the sense of self-actualization is like an infinity mirror. You see yourself looking at yourself, looking at yourself, looking at yourself, looking at yourself, until eventually you get tired and you collapse. They say the monkey collapses at this point. And all you are at this point. And the silence is the answer. It's quite illuminating, actually. And then you might find that another thought shows up. And again, you use that as fuel. This is how you get over these barriers. If a thought comes up, you're not trying to shove it down and live in a state of no mind, not thinking. You use it as fuel. Who is it that's looking at this thought? The flashlight will turn on itself again, become aware. You might have that infinity effect until you stop. Get used to just stopping and not having to think about what you are, than just being. If you're aware of just being, you're thinking. Who is it that's aware of just being? Flashlight comes off of it, you stop thinking about just being and become nothing. You cease to seek what it is that you are, and then by doing so, you are what you are. Yeah? And you will keep going the more you realize this until eventually you're able to realize that becoming aware of something is you thinking too. And so you might dial back your awareness until you become slightly unconscious, to the point where you forget to remember to be aware of the self. And you might feel like that's quite familiar, that's quite normal, right? Because in that state you can't think, and that's the state you keep coming back to every time you drop a thought, whether it's of a sense of self or an image that you're seeing. So while you're all there, you might notice that your mind has a tendency to try to now connect to something. For example, if an ego construct comes up, so if you're like, I could do this, it's just a feeling, no imagery, but you're like, I can do this is easy, right? Think to yourself, if I can see that, then that's not me. And then it will go away. You've just defeated the ego. But if you get, start gloating about that, now you've just projected a new one. But if you're aware of the fact that you're gloating, well, if I can see this, then it's not me, it will go away. You might notice the same thing when it comes to your face. Maybe your brain is trying to attach an identity to the face. But then you can say, well, if I can observe this, then it's not me. I'm clearly the thing behind the face. Yeah, and there are more practices to detach from the face. I go through them in numerous courses and what may have you, but this isn't a marketing video or anything like that. I simply want you to be able to get everything you need out of this one video so that you can do this too. While you're there, think about your sense of self. You're lying down. You've been going through this process. The sense of you, whether your name is Mike, Ryan, James, Laura, Kim, you'll feel it. It's in there. Really pay attention to it. You might not see it, but you will feel your emotions. Really pay attention to it and say to yourself, if this is me, then who is it that's looking at this? And then logically, the brain will only side with the fact that, well, you can't be the thing you're looking at because you're the one looking at it. You're the flashlight. So your sense of self starts to fall apart and you'll go back to a sense of silence again, which is the answer of what you are. Koans do a great job at teaching a person how to get to this same state of Satori, I believe it's called, where they dissolve their sense of self and come to this realization that they are everything, but only after the dissolution of self, Satori. And it's really not difficult. You don't have to be meditating in a cave for 70 years to be able to figure this out. Just do this one meditation every day for at least 20 minutes, and then try doing it with your eyes open. Yeah? Do it in front of a mirror. Who is it that's looking at this person in the mirror? And you'll start to discover more and more and more about thoughts and what they are, and the fact that you are not them. Even your sense of self isn't you. Your sense of self is a record of every experience you've had that's made an impression on you, whether it's on your mental body, your emotional body, your physical body, if it's a scar. I have one on my chest. When you go through an experience, your flashlight, your your mind, because you're not awareness. Awareness is something that you do. You're aware at one moment, but then you can just as easily become unaware. So it stands to reason you're not awareness. In the same vein that you're not consciousness, because you can just as easily become unconscious. So you're not consciousness, then what are you? It's these answers which aren't spoken. It's when your brain kind of shuts down that the answer is finally there, and that's what koans and what I just said have in common. So if you're getting stumped through this video, you're actually hitting the answer every single time. And that will become familiar to you too, to the point where the answer sounds like something that you can actually grapple with and relate to. At which point it becomes very easy just to dissolve out of the character and just become a very clear being or thing. I say mind for better lack of a word. I know some people use mind in the context of a brain, but I'm using it in the context of this self, the sense of self that I'm talking about here, this substance that's clear in the vase. Yeah? When you're like this, you are a clear tuning fork. You haven't been wrung out yet. The moment you have a thought that starts to make its way through your mental body, resonates a subtle frequency in your mental body, then that shows up in your emotional body. Now it's getting stronger. And you keep that thought in mind. So every now and then you revisit it. It's going to start existing in your aura. And then that thing that you want will come to you in surprising ways.